Happy birthday! If you're new this morning, you might be wondering, what is going on? Those people all have the same t-shirt on. Is this some sort of cult I stumbled into? No, it is not. We're celebrating, this is the 5th anniversary of Calvary Quakertown being launched. And if you're wondering why throw a party, I'm going to tell you why. Because the Bible says to. God calls us to remember and to celebrate. And the reason is simple. When we don't remember, when we forget, we get ourselves in trouble. Because we lose sight of who God is and what He's done. And so we want to remember today what God has done in and through Calvary Church over the last 5 years. And there are some significant things we're celebrating. This is a big milestone. One more time. This is a big milestone. Much better. Now, 5 years might feel like, what does that look like? That's hard to quantify. And so I want to give you a picture of, like, this is what it looked like. This is what it looks like to be, to be young. This is where Calvary started 5 years ago. This is kind of where we started. Look at that. Oh. These are the shirts that we wore at Calvary to now say we're headed to Quakertown. Look how adorable. Who wouldn't want to join that face? Well, what does that look like 5 years later? Let's bring up Susan. Susan! Hey, friend. We're this old now. She is far cuter. She's far, no offense, but right? Folks, we are so glad you're here. We're going to do a bunch of different stuff this morning because we want to celebrate and experience what God has done, and we're going to start with some worship. We went back through 5 years. What are the greatest hits of Calvary Quakertown? What are the songs that we've loved and sung a lot over the last 5 years? So Andrew and the team put together a sampling, and they're going to lead us this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Would you stand with us as we celebrate what God's done this morning? Let's put our hands together. Kids, let me see your glow sticks. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness? Whose love is mighty and so much stronger? The King of glory, the King above all kings. thanks for singing with us this morning. We'll be back a little later on in the service. You guys can have a seat.
I'm going to read to you a story. A long time ago, in a land far, far away called Souderton, there was a group of people who loved Jesus very much. They decided to start a church because they wanted their families and friends and neighbors to know Jesus too. That church was called Calvary. Over the years, the church started to grow and things were good. But there were still a lot of people around the church who needed to hear about Jesus. The church was just a little too far for those people to go to. Maybe, just maybe, if the church could move closer to them, they'd be interested. But how do you move a church? Isn't a church just a building? Well, okay, kids, theologically speaking, a church isn't a building. It's really the corporate joining of people together, united under the headship of Jesus as the body of Christ, no matter where they are. Okay, that's too much. We'll come back to that. So how do you move a church? Can a church grow legs and walk somewhere? Does a church have to be carried by lots and lots of people? Can the church buy a bus ticket? How can a church move closer to people? And how does the church know where to go? A church can't be in two places at the same time, can it? Well, it turns out, yes. Yes, it can. Because a church isn't a building. It's really the people. And people can go anywhere their moms or dads let them go. But where should they go? The people at Calvary put their thinking caps on and turned them all the way up to 10. They thought about the people who might come to Calvary if only it was a little closer. They thought about their friends and neighbors who they could invite to church. They thought about all the people around them who didn't know Jesus yet. They wondered where they could go to help people talk about Jesus with their friends and neighbors and moms and firefighters and teachers and ice cream truck drivers. The people of Calvary thought about going to several different places around Souderton. But then it hit them. There was a town called Quakertown. God made it clear that Quakertown was the place he was calling them to go to. Things never seemed to work out when they tried to go to other towns. But in Quakertown, things did work out, except meeting at the Regal. That didn't work out at all. God knew there were people who lived in Quakertown who loved Jesus and who also wanted their friends to love Jesus too. God also knew there were already amazing churches who were telling their friends about Jesus in Quakertown and doing it really well. Those churches were excited to welcome the Calvary people to the neighborhood. And really, there can never be too many places to share and learn more about Jesus. So it was decided the people of Calvary Church would go to Quakertown, like God was leading them to do. But who should go? Some people needed to stay because really good things were still happening at Calvary. Everybody couldn't go to Quakertown. That would be crazy. God had just the right 3 people to go on this adventure. Their names were Carlos, Jen, and Wayne. They didn't have super speed, super strength, or the ability to fly. But God made Carlos, Jen, and Wayne with just the right super special skills that they needed for this adventure. Carlos had a super heart, able to care for the people around him and make them feel important and loved, and a love for thrift stores so deep as to keep them all in business. Jen had a super brain, able to organize complex things and bend Excel spreadsheets to her will, and energy. Jen had energy. So much energy. All of the energy. Wayne had a super spirit, willing to serve it any way possible and work very hard at whatever he did. And he was good at everything. Like seriously everything. It's a little frustrating. Carlos, Jen, and Wayne invited people to go on the adventure with them. And people did. Lots of people. Lots and lots of people, actually. People who had their own super special skills. People who were excited about the adventure and the chance to tell people in Quakertown about Jesus. Carlos, Jen, and Wayne and this group of people came together to form a super team that would be known as the Launch Team. The Launch Team really was a group of superheroes. They prepared like superheroes. They met for a month to practice being this new church. They ate together, prayed together, painted walls together. They bought special equipment to help them on their mission. They had their own slogan. They even had their own uniform. It's blue shirts. However, things are not always easy for superheroes. They have to try new things and learn new skills. They have to sacrifice for the greater good. They have to take risks. These superheroes going to Quakertown did all of those things. Some of them had to leave jobs and friends and family behind in order for them to go be super in Quakertown. But they believed in the adventure and in what God was going to do. So they went. Calvary Quakertown was something new, something different. Because they didn't have their own space, they would have to set up their church inside of another building, and they would have to do that every single week. They needed to set up chairs for people to sit in, instruments for people to play, signs so people knew where to go, toys for children to play with, all to make it a special place where people could feel welcome. Then, when service was over, they would have to tear it all down. Everything. Every week they had to do this all over again. And so they did, because it's what they had to do in order to help make new friends and tell more people about Jesus. And the cases. Oh, the cases. Cases and cases and cases galore. Cases as far as the eye can see. Cases for days. That's where they kept all of their stuff, in their cases. And the cases are one of the things that made being a new church in a new place with new people easier. And they arrived just in time, too. Then, one day, February 25th, 2017, to be precise, the moment came. The day had arrived. The mailers had been sent, people had been invited, chairs had been set up, pizza had been judged, prayer nights had been held, s'mores had been made, blue shirts had been worn. On this day, they opened the church, they opened the doors, and had church together for the first time, and Calvary changed forever. Now one church in 2 locations. God has done a lot over the years in and through these people. Some very big things that impacted a lot of people, and some very small things that made a big difference in the lives of very specific people. They lit Christmas trees and hunted Easter eggs. They had outdoor baptisms, ate many meals together, and have even ridden Christmas trains. They were very proud of the Christmas train. But most of all, they loved Quakertown. They loved people, and they loved Jesus. And they still do to this day. And this, my friends, is just the beginning. You see, this is not the whole story. It's just one chapter of what God has done and will continue to do in Quakertown through Calvary Church. That's the story of Quakertown. And I want you to know, we got these, we made a little book, and we got these printed. So if you were part of the launch team, we want to give you one. We want to give you one today. Come see me afterwards. We want to give you one of these as our way of saying thank you for the story you helped write. On our 5th anniversary, we are going to emphasize the stories that have been told. We want to let you hear from real people who aren't me or Carlos what this was like for them, the way that God worked in their lives. And so we're going to give you 5 stories from 5 different groups of people for our 5th anniversary. And our first story is Scott and Jill Timmerman.
Well, good morning, and today is a day for stories, but before we give some stories, we're going to say hello and goodbye to our friends from Bridge. We were so happy that you guys were here. You being here. Such a great part of today. Well, as Josh let us know, we have Scott and Jill with us today. Scott and Jill were part of the launch team. And so Scott, Jill, tell us a little bit about how God has stretched you, has grown you during this time, and especially during the launch.
Well, speaking as 2 of the real people that are here, we came to Pennsylvania just a couple years before the move to Quakertown. And we'd been involved in our church back in New Jersey for about 30 years in different ministries and youth groups and small groups and such. And when we came to Quakertown, it was much larger than any church we'd ever been in before. We came from Souderton, thank you. My helpmate.
You got Quakertown on the line?
It was much larger than anywhere we'd been. We were 300 or 400 people back in New Jersey in our church. So we didn't get involved, and we came Sunday, and we'd leave, and we'd come back Sunday, and we'd leave again. And then when the opportunity came to come here, we saw it as a great opportunity to maybe get back involved and use gifts and such in ministry. And Carlos offered it. He stretched us by having me involved in parking, which today is sunny and nice out. It was maybe 3 or 4 of those days in the first few years.
You're woke.
It rained a lot, and it was hard to recruit because it was cold and rainy. But we enjoyed getting to know people from that ministry.
I'd say I was stretched similarly, serving where needed, right? So I was asked to head the coffee team. I don't drink coffee. I didn't know how to make coffee. So just even that, but truly it was a blessing. So I've served helping set up when things were shorthanded. I mean, there's so much to the community that goes on here. It was stretching, but it was probably the biggest blessing, just working alongside people and serving wherever was needed.
So you talked about serving, and you talked about just me putting you into the perfect spots for you to be in. Part of your story is also just interacting with people and in the community that's built here. Tell me a little bit about how you've seen God impact the lives of others around you.
We've been very privileged to get involved in a small group and lead a small group from our home that we've seen people come and learn about their gifts, learn more about Jesus, and use their gifts in service. We've seen couples, the one spouse didn't even come to church, and having an opportunity to serve brought him here, and now they're both serving in the church. It's exciting.
And I would say, too, one of the ministries that we were asked to participate in was the premarital 2-to-1. And just walking alongside of those young couples, and you'll hear from one of them coming up shortly, but just has been, just to see how God's working in that life. And through that ministry, our marriage has been strengthened. And I would also just say touching elbows with people in the coffee team, the hub, whatever, just getting involved in people's life and sharing life has been such a blessing and
Well, you guys have been a blessing as well. You know what's a blessing? A microphone. A microphone is a blessing. You guys have been a blessing to me as well, and what some may not know is that not only were you part of the launch team when we started, but there was a smaller group of people that were my advisory team. And I have picked your brains. I've gone to you for counsel. I have been prayed over by both of you, and I am so grateful for both of you. And you have a theme as you continue to talk. And one of the things that when we launched to Quakertown, we became a smaller campus. And then when you talk about your small groups, we have even a smaller community there. And what I would love to invite you is if you have ever thought about joining a small group and if you've wanted to connect in some way, we encourage you to do that. Let us know if you want to join a small group. Let us know if you want to actually facilitate one. We'd love to get you plugged into one of those. Well, we mentioned the launch team. We mentioned all of these blue shirts and all sorts of stuff today. What happened before we came here is that we were commissioned as a team to come over to Quakertown. And prior to that commissioning, there was a video that was shown, and we actually have that video today. And so we want to show that on the screens today.
"65 years ago, the founders of Calvary Church looked around and saw a need. There was a need to reach the next generation through quality Bible teaching with an emphasis on grace. That first move required them to take a risk, and since then we've been willing to take a risk each time we've seen that need. Each new step challenges us to trust God. We'll continue to trust Him as we move forward in our next step as a multi-site church. We're ready. We've committed to being part of the next chapter of Calvary's story at Quakertown, seeing the need, taking the risk, trusting God, continuing what Jesus started.
I'm here with Justin. You might recognize Justin from such things as playing the bass 5 minutes ago. Justin's been a big part of our family here at Calvary Quakertown. And Justin, how did you end up playing bass here?
Well, I was going through a really hard time in my life. I was struggling a lot, and I got involved with the young adults group over at Calvary Satterton. And while being involved in that group, they started like a young adults worship band, which I played acoustic guitar for and also sang a little bit. And
Kind of like a rock star. That's okay. You can say it.
and I did not know how to play bass. And my grandfather, he was a bass player, so I always wanted to learn also. So I bought a bass, and Andrew heard about it, and like a week later, I didn't even play this thing yet, and Andrew comes calling me, asking me if I can come audition because Calvary Quakertown really needs a bass player. So he gave me some songs to practice, and I practiced as much as I possibly could. And so that was the week before Easter, and I went and auditioned. He's like, oh, great, can you play this Sunday? I'm like, okay, in 3 days. And he's like, and we also need a bass player for Easter. And I was,
No pressure.
wow, the most important Sunday of the year. So, yeah, he trusted in me more than I even trusted in myself. And
Why was that so?
I'm
Why was
here
that so
now.
meaningful for you?
just because I'm pretty hard on myself, and I didn't think I was good enough. And people in this place thought I was, and they believed in me more than I believed in myself.
I love that. And you have a unique kind of history with this room in particular.
Yeah, I do. So the church I grew up going to is called New Covenant Brother in Christ, and we also used to meet in this room before Calvary was here. And I used to sit out in the crowd and watch the people from that church, their worship team, play up here, thinking to myself, wow, I wish I could do that. You know, but I am not near talented enough. And here I am 5 years later, still up here playing.
I love the way you share that, because as you're talking, you're like, you know, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was good enough to do that. And here's a situation where you know, like, well, I'm definitely not good enough. I played bass 2 hours ago, and yet people believed in you enough to do that. How's God worked in your life through your time at Calvary? How's God worked in your life over the last 5 years?
I would definitely say surrounding me with the people that are here in this church. Jill and Scott Timmerman they were our 2-to-1 counseling for our marriage counseling, and they have been a blessing to us among all my friends in the band and, you know, everyone here. It's nice to hear how God's working through other people's lives, and when you surround yourself by that, you know, it really, really does work.
And why were those relationships so meaningful for you?
I would say because before I came here, I was just very, very lonely, very unwanted, I would say. I felt incomplete. And since I've been attending here, you know, continuing my relationship with the Lord, I just continue to see my life just starting to create a path pretty quickly.
Love that. I love the way you talked about the way God used other people in your life. You get to see really the tangible picture of what community really means, and that was really powerful for me. I'm not saying if you serve somewhere that in a couple years you'll find great friends and you'll be married with cute kids, but I'm not saying that. So if you want to serve, we would love to have you. Justin, thank you so much for serving. I need to let him go because he's actually going to help lead us in our band in the next song. Thanks, Justin.
Would you stand with us as we sing this next song? You know, we sung some songs of celebration, and this is a song about presence. You know, it's been an incredible 5 years, but not everybody's walked into Sunday morning on a mountaintop. And I think what's special about this song is that God has used this song in this site to meet people where they're at in their valleys. So let's remember Him in that way this morning. love for us. We thank you for who you are and what you've done this morning. In your name we pray. Amen.
Well, we're going to continue and hear a little bit more stories. I have Grace and Allison here today. They are like a combo package. It's a coupon. Buy one, get one free here. Well, tell me a little bit about how you guys got here. Tell me a little bit about how you showed up at Calvary Quakertown.
Yeah, so for us, the transition to coming here was rather lengthy. We started just by watching online during COVID. We watched the Southern campus and loved the sermons and such, and then in like June of last year, we decided to come in person to kind of see what the atmosphere was there. And then actually one of the main reasons we stayed was we'd only been here, I don't know, like 2 or 3 weeks, and our dad needed emergency abdominal surgery. And then the week when he was in the hospital, we were just so blessed by the amount of genuine care that we received. Specifically, Jamie kept texting me all week, being like, hey, we're praying for you. How are you guys doing? Do you need anything? And we felt so blessed by that.
That's awesome. You guys are working with our young adults on Sunday mornings as well. Can you tell me a little bit about, you mentioned your family. How have you personally been impacted here during your time at Calvary Quakertown?
There have been a lot of ways. For me personally, I think a lot has been in identity. So previous to being here, I had been living in Toronto. I was a musician, and a lot of my self-worth and identity got wrapped up in who I was as a performer. So then COVID happens, and everything was shut down. And I kind of realized that I didn't know who I was without the harp. And it's been a really, really interesting journey through sermons, through conversations I've had with people here, friendships that I've made, kind of rebuilding that identity to not have it centered around what I can do, whether I won that competition or not. And that's been really amazing. And as for the young adults, just the opportunity to be able to help get that started has really grown me and stretched me and shown me gifts that I never even knew I had. Yeah, for me, one of the major ways that God's impacted my life through Calvary Church Quakertown has been just realizing what it is to be supported and encouraged through like a lot of people here, but especially through Josh. As we got this young adults group started.
Did you pay them?
Only a little bit. As we got this young adults group started, Josh has met with Allison and I relatively regularly, and just the support and encouragement that he's given us has been absolutely just blowing my mind. Even like, there was one time I literally came with a 3-page document just of like difficult questions, and he just took the time to listen to what we had to say and answer them. And then for the young adults group, one of the big ways that God's impacted me that way is just realizing the need to be vulnerable with them. Towards the beginning, one of like the first meetings, Alice and I were there, and one of the people in the group looked at us and said, you know, you're never gonna get anyone here to talk unless if the leaders start sharing. And that really resonated with me because I realized I did have to start sharing and trying to be vulnerable, and God has just used that instance and a whole bunch of others to really just show me the importance of vulnerability, and it's grown me spiritually in ways that I didn't really know I needed to be grown.
Well, we're so thankful for both of you, and I guess we're thankful for Josh, too. You mentioned in your story just a time of when your dad was sick and just how people came around you and loved on you. I have had the privilege of watching all of you love on people at this campus who have gone through difficult times. And so we wanted to share a story of a family who's not here today, but all of you surrounded with love. And so take a look at this video.
On January 1st, 2018, our world was rocked. Our daughter, Brooklyn, we noticed just a small lump on her finger, and we went to urgent care, told us it was just a cyst, nothing. Make a long story short, it turned out to be a rare form of cancer.
Yeah, the diagnosis was really tough for us because it happened in stages. The first stage was just, hey, there's a lump on her wrist. Then the second stage was, okay, diagnosis, we get down the chop. She was diagnosed with synovial cell sarcoma. It's a rare form of cancer. It's a soft tissue cancer, is what it is. And then one of the stages was, after she was diagnosed, we thought, okay, it's okay, let's go right into surgery and get it out. But they actually had to go in and look to see if there's any more cancer in her body. So that was probably the hardest part on Brooklyn as far as surgeries, doing biopsies and those sort of things. Once that was done and it was confirmed that it did not spread anywhere, where a load was lifted off her shoulders right away. The next stage was removal of the tumor, and then a stage after that was reconstruction of her wrist, tying all the tendons back together. And then the next stage after that was the radiation, which was really brutal. We were just like, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna manage to drive down into the city every day for 35 times?
Basically, through this whole thing, I just want to, give all the glory to God. He carried us in so many ways and blessed us in so many ways. And of those blessings, we had our friends from Calvary who would have meals for us, who we'd get surprise amounts of money given to us. We didn't know who they came from. And just so many people praying. People we didn't know praying for us, which really meant the most.
Yeah, one thing that sticks out in my mind is I was talking to somebody. They said, "Look, Matt, you have an army of people praying behind you right now," and that was comforting. That was telling me that, look, the Lord's with us through this, and that we can count on the people we came to know at Calvary, Quakertown. Carlos is a really big help because he was at the church at the time, and Jen Stoop was a lot of help, and just the people that we would be with all the time, like the tech team that I'm on. Those people we would text back and forth, messages, things of that sort.
And then they had this really nice, pretty big party to celebrate her last surgery or her last treatment. And just watching her go in there, not knowing, and seeing her face light up when she just saw all her friends lined up and cheering for her. And, just hearing her then, praising God for all these blessings as well. It was just amazing. When this all started, Brooklyn was 9, and the amazing strength that she had and just her humility and how brave she was and how grateful. After one of her surgeries, the night before she went into her surgery, she made like 25 cards, put her name on them, handed them out to every single person that helped her in the hospital. But it would be somebody that held the door, the lady at the desk, the doctor. So she just has a very, very big, grateful heart. And I think this inspired her to want to help others as well. So Brooklyn couldn't be here today because she was doing volleyball. And it's just nice to see her too, able to do all the things she still loves to do.
Right now she's still in surveillance where she's getting MRIs and x-rays done, but we're almost done that and she's doing great. We go this June for her next MRI, but as far as the whole ordeal, the whole thing, I mean, it's in her rearview mirror, and as far as we're concerned, she's 100% healed.
Right.
Which is a blessing for us.
It's a miracle, it is.
I got to tell you, they wanted to be here, and when they realized they couldn't be, they were very sad, which is, I'm so glad Winfelders are able to share their story. I am so proud to be part of a church that was able to be part of a story like that. I love that. Love to see how God works through people. Carlos and Jen, come on up. So we want to do something fun. A lot of stuff has happened over the last 5 years. And we try and think of ways to quantify that, right? Just want to be able to wrap our arms around all that's happened, all that we've experienced. So we've got some fun stats. We've got Calvary Quakertown by the numbers. And I'm going to have Jen and Carlos read these numbers to you. And they don't know what they are. They don't know what they're reading. They don't know the answers. They intentionally do not know these things. And so I'm going to let them lead you through it just to kind of give you a sense of some of the things that have happened over the years. It's all yours.
Wayne intentionally avoided today just because of this. Wayne's on vacation, just so you know. You can make fun of him for perfect timing. Go ahead. Why don't you introduce it first?
Okay. 8,096 plus. What did that number mean?
I think that's either how many people are in Quakertown or how many family units are in Quakertown.
I think that's a good guess. I agree. That is the number of
That
cases
is,
moved
that's amazing.
since we've been open.
That's amazing.
Okay, the next
We need
number.
to pray over those cases.
And the ones that you tipped over.
2,500. What do you think?
The number of people in Quakertown? Number of family units in Quakertown? The number of blue shirts we had printed?
I don't know. I don't know what 2,500 is. Oh. That's a good one. That was a good one. What's the next one? What's the next one? $45,000. How much Josh's shoes are worth?
I was going to say your thrift store finds, but that would not be right.
Well, that's good.
Wow. Money
I should
given to
have known that. I feel I'm really bad at this game.
They asked us numbers, but none of the numbers are up here. So.
Okay, what you got next? We got a 1.
The number of people who bailed on this day and went on vacation.
Yes. Yes. That's
Just
our story.
kidding,
That's
just
a great.
kidding.
I'm sticking with that answer. That's the one I'm.
Stage designs accidentally destroyed 2 days before Christmas Eve service. Yes, it fell
I
down.
did not do that.
No, it fell. We love you, Karen.
No matter what the camera says. Is there another one? 3,420. Oh, I don't know this one at all. Double.
For real? Are you
That's good.
serious? That's unbelievable.
That's awesome. 3. I don't know. Number of check-in. Oh, yeah.
Oh, how to bring that one in.
I'm pretty certain I broke one of those.
With the case falling?
80. Wow, we stink at this. We're really bad at this.
Number of families on the launch team? Broken down?
Gallons of slime used on Quakertown staff at Kid Fest.
Yes.
There's a reason I didn't know that. I blocked that one from memory. All right, what else? 600 plus. Slices of pizza?
Oh, that could be.
Slices of pizza?
Like the pizza bowl.
From the pizza bowl?
The very first day.
All right, what do we have? Oh, that was way more noble than my answer.
Let's be serious. Let's see.
All right, that's 350 plus. Plus is like a very general,
what does that
like
mean?
350 to like 30,000, like.
Let's say the number of launch team and staff
Sure.
on our
We'll go with that. Good answer.
public open.
Conversations that student ministry small groups have had.
Oh.
We are really not thinking spiritual enough on these answers. Okay.
Censor ourselves here.
50,000 plus. This one is how
People in
much.
Quakertown.
This one is how many dollars spent that Josh spent. This one. Oh, chairs. Chairs.
Golly.
10,000. This one is how many people in Quakertown.
Yes?
This is it.
Sure?
I don't know any of these.
Our,
Oh.
They just want us to go, oh.
They
after
just,
everything.
yes.
They just want us up here
Seven.
to go, oh.
We have to get one right.
We will not.
753 plus. Diapers that have been changed.
Oh, that's a good one. No.
Oh.
Miles.
Cases.
Here to Savannah.
Savannah, Georgia. Wow. That's
How many
amazing.
cuts we
Thank
have
you
on the back
for
of our
pushing
feet.
those cases, everyone. 16 steps that I took pushing those cases.
That is not true.
Families that
pushed-
participated in child. That's a good one. That's really good. 10,000. I know what this one is. I know what this one
hard,
is.
guys.
I actually know what this
No,
one
you
is.
don't.
I actually do, but I was given this one. I'm pretty certain I was given this
Well,
one.
say it. We want to get one right.
How many mailer cards were mailed out?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Good job, Carlos.
That's right. I got one.
Dan.
That was excellent.
Unmute me.
I think those are.
We got 2 final questions, special for you two. 2 final questions.
Two final
We're gonna
questions.
give you the question first this time.
Oh, wait, it's a question?
Yeah,
we're
well,
so
we're gonna give you
bad.
the answer. We're gonna give you the answer first. The
Okay.
number comes second.
Oh. Well, one was really taller than me, so one. I guess. One. Yep. What's the next question? Oh, come on. Okay.
Sorry about that, dude.
Jen, for all you guys did for Quakertown, thank you. We love you guys.
I walked into that one. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
Reel us back in here.
Yes, as one of those 97, thank you, Jen.
You know what? You were not just part of one of the stats on there. You like this segue? It was a great transition.
Great.
You're actually part of another stat on there, aren't you? There's a stat of 10,000 mailers that went out to people in Quakertown. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So we were new in Quakertown, my husband and Mike and I, and we had one little baby at the time, and we were church searching, and we got a mailer in the mail, and we thought, let's go. So we actually showed up here on the first day. We were here for launch day, and we've been here ever since. It's been an awesome community to become a part of, and it was just really cool because when I told Carlos about that, he was like, they worked with somebody came because of the mailers. It was worth it. And God has just used us in this community and has grown and stretched our family and my husband and I as individuals here. So we are so blessed that we got that piece of mail that day.
See? Mail works. I was made fun of for that, but we got Shannon from it. So there we go. Worth every penny to send out those mailers. Shannon, that is not the whole story. There's a story about that and how you came on staff, but there's actually another story that's much more impactful and something that we are really happy and love this story. I met you guys, and about 10 days later, I was at a staff huddle, and what happened was we went around the huddle, we went and we got different updates from different staff members, and we got to Dawn Dan, who's over at our Sourton campus. She works over there, and Dawn said, I have a prayer request. There is a young mom coming in today who will be surrendering her child this afternoon unless someone here knows someone who is looking to adopt a baby. And I met you 10 days prior, Shannon. Why did I meet you?
We were meeting with Carlos to talk about the adoption process, share where we were, ask him to help us with some paperwork for some grants, and we told him the story. We were coming here for about a year and a half. We were getting involved. I was a volunteer, but we didn't really get a chance to meet Carlos, so he wanted to meet with us, and we got to share how our hearts were longing for our family to grow. We had our Alex, and we knew we weren't done yet, and because of some medical reasons, we weren't able to have more biological children, so our heart was drawn to adoption, and we shared that with him. And he said, okay, I'm going on vacation this weekend, so if you can just email me next Sunday, I will get that done for you. So I emailed him that Sunday, and I said, call me if you have any questions. And he called me that Monday, and he said, and I was on my way to Sesame Place with Alex in the car. I'm like, oh, he's probably
Forgot about that.
I was on my way to Sesame Place with Alex to meet a friend, and I thought, oh, he probably just has a question. So I answered it while I was driving. And he said, there's a mom here who's looking to surrender her child. Would you be interested in meeting with them and talking with this mom? And I was like, yeah, that would be amazing. So I parked because I was driving on a highway, which was not safe, parked, and I sent him our profile to share with the mom. Carlos got to meet with the mom. Dawn was there, and she said, okay, I want to meet you. And I said, oh goodness, I am literally at Sesame Place. I'm only wearing like a tankini bathing suit, so can you tell her that I'm coming from Sesame Place and that I really don't dress like this? So we met the birth mom, and we had a conversation, and Carlos was with us the entire time. And As a leader in this church, his time is so important and impactful, and for him to be with us every step of the way for 2 straight days was just so amazing to my husband and I. And so we get there, we meet this mom, we talked to her for a while, and she said, "Okay, do you want to take him home?" And I said, I'm going to have to call my caseworker. I called the caseworker, explained what was happening, and we worked with an agency that was not with any religious affiliation. And she said, "Shannon, this is a miracle. We have never had this happen before. This is a miracle." And they were in awe. They worked for 24 hours straight. Overnight, the lawyers, everybody. Carlos met with us again the next day with the birth mom, the birth father, and we signed the paperwork, and we brought our Benjamin home that night. So we got the call around 10 a.m. on Monday. By 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, we had our Ben home with us, and we were in court with the adoption papers 3 months later. And the whole time, our caseworker kept saying, "This doesn't happen. This doesn't happen." And all we kept saying was, "Well, yeah, because this is a story only God could have written. Only God could have done this." So not only did God move in amazing ways in our family, but we got to share the gospel. We got to share with this agency, with these caseworkers. Everyone we encountered just got to see, wow, this is amazing. And we said, this is God. He has done this in our family. So it was so amazing to share that with everyone around us. And plus we have our Benny. So he completed our family, and we are so blessed. We are so blessed. And it's so precious to see the special relationship that Ben still has with Carlos. And he loves Carlos. Pastor Carlos?
They're good for my self-esteem, your kids. When they walk in and they
Both
smile
of our
at me.
kids love him.
I love seeing both Ben and Alex when they walk in. You mentioned the gospel. We've talked often about adoption and just how it can point to the gospel so well. And you have shared with me so much of your heart on that. I would love for you to just share with them a little bit of your heart as well.
Sure. Within adoption, I think we get so caught up in the beauty of it, the coming together of a family, but really adoption is rooted in trauma and grief and pain and the loss of what could have been, whether it's from the birth family or the adoptive family that are grieving the dream, I'm going to have children biologically. There's just so much grief and pain. If you look at studies, children who are adopted have some trauma in their life. It's rooted. Our son was 11 and a half months old when he joined our family, and it was evident even then. But the power of just prayer and support and just continually speaking life into our son's life, continually surrounding him with the gospel and the word. And, we can love him the way that we do because God first loved us. We get to share that love with him, whether or not he was our biological child or not. It's the way that we described it. Our son, Alex, was 2.5, and we tell him then and we tell him now, you grew in mommy's belly, but Ben grew in mommy's heart, and we are a family. And just the reflection of adoption, we are all adopted into the family of Christ. So it's a beautiful reflection of that.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful image, adoption, in that, as you talked about earlier with trauma, Jesus stepped into our trauma in order to bring us to the point where we could enter into a family with God. And so I think that's beautiful. And I think that your story is one of many stories that have impacted me personally here at Calvary Quakertown over the 5 years. And over these past 5 years, I wish I could literally walk around this room and just sit down in different chairs and thank so many of you for so many stories that you gave me. Oh wow, what happened there? I am so thankful for each one of you. And I'm especially thankful for my wife and kids and how much they have given and sacrificed.
Let's pray. This wasn't our thing, but this is worth praying for. Father God, we thank you for the ways you've moved. We thank you for the lives you've changed. We thank you for the families you've impacted. We thank you for that picture, Lord, that you have brought us into our family, into your family, given us rights and privileges that we don't deserve. but you treat us like your own, Lord. We are grateful for that. We're grateful for the way we see Jesus in these stories. Father, we celebrate those things. This is real life. This is real stuff, and we celebrate the realness of it. Father, you are good, and you have been kind to us, and we are thankful that we can celebrate those moments right now. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. You guys are great.
We have a video to kind of just share with you a little bit about those moments. So take a look at the video on the screen. Thanks, Ma.
Go get him.
Well, it's official. Calvary Church is going to Quakertown in 2017. All right, we've got a lot of work to do, so let's do this.
If Wayne's not here, I don't think we put Wayne in the video. We'll cut him out for the next one. Folks, it's been so meaningful to get to hear people share their stories, to get to hear really the gospel lived out in tangible ways. If you're wondering, where's the message this morning? The message is shared through the people's stories as it relate how the gospel has impacted them, with the value of community, what it looks like to have our identity rooted in the right things, or this picture of adoption into God's family. That's why we're here. And there are so many people who made that possible. We just want to take a moment and thank those people who made this possible. Carlos and Jen, if you would stand up, And wait till the end to clap, because there's going to be a lot of people. So Carlos and Jen, we want to honor you guys. We want to recognize you as the staff with Wayne who went out and launched this. If you're current staff, would you stand up if you're in here and you're currently on staff? Or if you were on staff at some point here. If you're on staff at some point here. I know Marie is here. I know Leah's here. You were a huge part of this too. Want to honor you. Look at it. Thank you for what you did to make this possible. Keep standing. Don't sit yet. If you were part of the launch team, if you would stand up. If you're part of the launch team that came from Souderton, that caught that vision to come and invest in this community, would you stand up? Man, thank you. Thank you guys for what you did. All right. If you volunteered here at any point, if you volunteered in the past, if you currently volunteer, as I know some people came back to celebrate with us today, would you stand up? If you volunteer in any capacity, I know we got volunteers here. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. If you have been here for 5 years from the beginning, maybe not part of the launch team, but you've been here for 5 years, would you stand up? Would you All right, look at that. If you've been here for 4 years, 4 years would you join them? 4 years. I'm going to work my way through, but the nice thing is it's not the 25th anniversary, so it won't take that long. 4 years. All right. 4 years. How about 3 years? Just good to see the visual of this. 3 years. Who's been here for 3 years? 3 years. Well, now you didn't clap for the 4-year people, so you feel bad. 2 years. Join them if you've been here for 2 years. Join them if you've been here for 2 years. All right? 1 year. How about 1 year? 1 year. All right. If you've come in the last year, if you're part of my family, basically, and other people, if you've been here in the last year, then stand up. And if you're not standing up, I'm not sure what number I missed. If you've come in the last year. Folks, look at what God has done here. It's exciting stuff. What we want to do right now is to give you a moment to think about this picture. If you would grab this card that's sitting on your chair, you can have a seat. If you grab this card right here, here's what we want you to do. We cannot celebrate the past without also looking to the future. A church does not exist to care for the people only inside its walls. A church exists to live out the reality of Jesus beyond this. We cannot be a church that is solely focused on the people here. We must be a church focused on the people who are not here yet, because that is the heart of God, and that is the ministry of the gospel. And so what I want you to do is take a moment. Think about who you want to see here at the next celebration. Whose story do you want to hear told at the next celebration? Who in your life, who do you love, who do you work with, who's your neighbor, who do you want to see here in 5 years? And I want you to write their name down. Write their name down. You can write my neighbor. If they have a very distinct name, you can write down my neighbor, or you can my husband or Steve. Write down whatever you want, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to pray for these cards for the next year. We're going to pray for them as a staff. We're going to pray for them as a church. We're going to pray for those people. There are more than 9,000 people that live in the Quakertown area. There's your number. 9,000 people. And that number matters, because I don't really care that we see our church grow in bigger numbers. I mean, we want to see that. We want to reach people. But the number that we care about, the number that we lose sleep over, the number that bounces around in my head and in my heart and in the heads and hearts of our staff team, is that number of people who do not know Jesus gets smaller. They don't have to come here, but we want them to know Jesus. And so we are going to pray. We are going to pray for those people. And so write that name down right now. In this moment, we're going to sing a song, but I want you to write it down in this moment. I don't want you to leave. If you want to think about it, that's great. Take another card and go home, but I want you to write down a name now, and we're going to collect them at the end of the service. My lovely assistant, Doug, who is undoubtedly shaking your hand if you're inside of this room, because Doug is amazing like that, is going to have a glass jar back there. At any point during the song, at any point as we wrap up, take this card and drop it in, to be a representation of the names we want to see, the stories we want to see told next time. We do not exist just for us. We exist to see the gospel made known to others. Write down a name and go stick it in the jar.
Well, would you stand with us as we finish our celebration this morning, just by continuing to worship God for who He is and what He's done. And I was told kids have glow sticks. So do we.